and this is kind of the second part of Salesfusion that I think is not only very important, but kind of warrants its own little demonstration here. I'm not a PowerPoint guy, so I'm not going to show you a bunch of slides. I like to show you it in action and actually demo the software. So part of what nurture marketing is, this is nothing new, is it's based around the fact that today buyers and the journey they take to find and make purchases for their businesses, it's a statistic that 70% of their investigation is done prior to them engaging with sales. So we are absolutely in a self-service, I guess, world today when it comes to making purchases. They do the same things I do. If I'm buying a car or coffee, I always go to the web first and try to self-educate and find as much information as I can before engaging with a salesperson if that's how it's being sold. So nurture marketing is, I guess, a tactic or strategy that can be used not only by your company's marketing department, but what I want to show you today is how sales gets involved in that process as well. Now, traditionally, marketing is really tasked with getting leads to enter into the sales pipeline. They're trying to attract prospects into the fold and ultimately engage them with your sales team. But what we find is that as part of their investigation, their self-investigation, they typically engage sales and then unengage sales or stop communicating with sales. We've all been there. We have great conversations with a prospect. They seem interested, and then they go dark. It doesn't mean that they've decided not to buy your product, but basically it means they've transitioned into the second phase of their personal or private investigation into a solution for whatever it is they're trying to buy. That is where nurture marketing really fills that gap, and I'll kind of explain as we go here. So as you know, Salesfusion has web forensics. It's monitoring your website, and it's recording website visits and keeping a catalog of all the websites that are getting hit by the world. And then ultimately, when that person tips their hand or reveals themselves to you by either filling out a landing page or responding to an email through Salesfusion, we can now link them to who are they, where do they work, what's their email address. So now we have a way to interact with them one-on-one, and that's, again, where this nurture marketing comes into play. So I don't want this to be a training. There's plenty of training videos out there that you can find on YouTube and on Salesfusion's site about how to build nurture marketing campaigns. But rather, I'm going to focus specifically on how does it integrate with Infor CRM, and as a salesperson, how do I turn it on? How do I make it go to work for me? And that's the questions I'm going to try to answer today. So here what we have is I've logged in, and this is traditionally, I would guess, something the marketing person would do, and that's to actually build out the nurture flow. So I've gone into marketing and nurturing, and I created a new nurture campaign, and I called it Infor CRM Public Demo because I want to trickle out a series of meaningful emails to prospects who have expressed some interest but then stopped communicating with a salesperson, me, directly as they're moving closer to making their decision. I want to keep front and center, top of mind with them by delivering relevant, meaningful, useful content to help them in their shopping process, because I'm not going to convince them to buy anything. I'm here to provide information. I'm one source of information as a person, and all the information out on the web generally is the rest of the information that they're going to use to try to move toward a decision as to what to buy. Okay, so it's graphical, as you can see, and so we started out by creating a name for this thing, filling in a couple of details about it. When do we want it to go out? We can throttle the delivery of these emails. Who are we sending it to? This is important because you can enroll a list of contacts in this nurture campaign. That's one way to do it. So it's tied into the distribution lists and segmentation lists that are part of Salesfusion. Now, where do they come from? You can either build those lists in Salesfusion, or if you activate the synchronization, it will actually synchronize your static groups from Infor CRM. And that's going to become important as we dive a little further into this. So who gets the email? Either a list of people who made it onto a list, or you can send it to individual recipients, a guy on the fly, and I'll show you how that works once we get into Infor CRM. You can also exclude recipients in case there's somebody you don't want to get it. But let's go back to the Flow Designer, because again, that is really the graphical representation of what is going to happen if I put somebody on this nurture campaign. What are they going to get? And what am I going to get as an Infor CRM user? So it always starts with an initial email. So we've created an email template. And again, typically marketing is the one who generates this content, not sales, although sales could do it if they're so inclined and have been given permissions. So if we look at the actual template, I created one that says, here's an Infor CRM public demo invitation. And if we look at the actual email I got, it looks like this. Not very pretty, but because I enrolled myself in this nurture campaign, I got this first email. Hello, Scott, click here to register, best regards kind of thing. Again, nothing fancy. I just wanted to make this quick and easy for today. Now, once that initial email goes out to your list or an individual person you targeted and included in here, now the system intelligence kicks in and it says, did the email get delivered? Was it opened? Did it bounce? So depending on the fate of that email, what happened to it after it went out, you can start to drive further, deeper workflows from that. And so this particular question is answered with a yes or a no. Did it get delivered? Yes. Okay, so if it got delivered and they opened it, which is one of your options, you answer the question with yes. They opened it. Big deal. Now what do I do? Okay, so Salesfusion, the first thing it's going to do, and this flows from top to bottom, is it's going to add a new task in Infor CRM. And the second thing it's going to do is notify the account manager that an email was opened, sent and opened, and there's a new alarmed task waiting in Infor CRM for the salesperson to follow up perhaps with a phone call. So we're trying to generate touch points here over time. We're trying to generate, again, meaningful topical emails that get sent out intermixed with live interactions by the salesperson. And that's why we've decided in this case to ask it to create a task for me to call the prospect, all the while they're continuing to get these trickled out emails that I've sent. So we have a task getting scheduled, a notification email going out, which I showed you, and then we also have the ability to update the contact record. It's been decided that if somebody opens this particular email, we want them to become an active prospect rather than inactive or whatever they used to be. So as part of this workflow, Salesfusion can update a field in Infor CRM to a selected value. So I'm going to elevate anybody that opens this thing to become active. And then I'm going to sync that data back into Infor CRM. Now this one makes no sense, but I just threw it on here anyway. But let's say they don't open the email. I can do something different. And that would be perhaps continue on to the next template email and then the next template email until they ultimately open it. And then we can do things like jump back to the top and jump to another step. So this isn't just a linear process. This is a matrix of things that can occur based on various actions that you've set up. So I right-clicked on No, and the one and only action that's in here now is I want to create a new opportunity in Salesfusion. Now, obviously, you wouldn't do that if somebody never opened your email, but just for a case in point, that's what I've asked it to do here. Now, some of the other things I can do, again, I don't want this to be a training today. You can send out another email. You can pause for a while, add conditional steps, take them on or off of lists inside of Salesfusion. But these three green little icons are the interactive part of it that's syncing with Infor CRM. So these green actions do something over in Infor CRM. And then you can see we've got some alerts built out here too. So because I sent one of these to Bree this morning, she opened it, she fell for it, and as a result of her opening that email, I got a notification as the account manager assigned to her record in our Infor system. I got a notification that she did it. Now, had she visited the website itself, you would have seen how long she spent on my website. You would have seen things like links she's clicked on would have shown up in here. But I immediately got an email that said, this person who's part of my CRM story opened a marketing nurture email. And so that's what it's telling me at this point. I get that alert. I don't even have to be in CRM to see it. Now, the other thing that happened as a result of that is Salesfusion scheduled a to-do for me to call and follow up with Brianna about her potential interest in my company. And so the fields on the actual activity form are pre-filled by Salesfusion. I told it what to put in the regarding field. I told it to set it to high priority. Now, it automatically links it to her account and contact because it's linked in Salesfusion. And then if there's any notes I wanted to throw in for the salespeople about why did this get scheduled for me, you can do that as well here. Okay, so let's take a look back here on, well, how did I build some of these steps? And it's based on, if you go into the lead analyzer, let me back up a second. You'll notice that we added a task, we sent a notification, we updated the status of a record, and we potentially created an opportunity. And those things are built upon templates. So we're going to jump over to the lead scoring templates area. Here's my contact alert. That's the first email I showed. Here's the task. Here's the opportunity. And here's what I wanted it to update after having satisfied that criteria I built out in that flow designer. So if we look at the task itself, we double click on it. These are the fields on the actual activity slip, the to-do slip in Infor CRM that it's going to populate. This is a high-scoring prospect who may be ready to buy. That's going to show up in the notes of the activity. It's going to set it to a high priority. And in the regarding field, it's going to say Infor CRM public demo. So I pre-selected those fields to get pre-populated based on that particular template. Okay, so let's look at just one more here, and the update contact. So the update contact, what I've told it is, look, if they met the criteria, I want you to update the contact status to active. So regardless of what it was, it's going to change their status to active. Even if they already were active, doesn't matter. It's going to make it active. And so that's one of the template attributes that I wanted to pre-populate or merge in after this particular step in the flow designer fires. Okay, now the question becomes, well, how do I get people onto that particular nurture campaign? So now we're going to go back in here and we're going to look at Brianna's contact record. Now there are two ways as a salesperson, day in the life, I'm staring at my contacts and I'm trying to decide, you know, who should I put on a particular nurture campaign? And so there's a couple of ways to do it, really two ways to do it. One of them is to add Brianna to a group, a static group that I've already created in my Infor CRM. And that group then syncs all its members over to Salesfusion. And because I put them on the distribution list for that nurture campaign, she's going to get these emails that are part of this nurture campaign. So again, you can choose add to group, pick the group you want to add to. I created one called Salesfusion Nurture. And if I added her to that, then she's going to start getting, and all the things are going to start happening to her record that are part of that workflow designer. So that's one way to do it. Add her to a group that's already been tagged as part of that nurture campaign. And then the second way to do it is you can launch the Salesfusion dashboard from Infor CRM from her record, and you'll notice that there is a Nurtures tab here. And so this would be showing your salespeople a list of all the available nurtures that they could add somebody to manually now rather than automatically. I just want to add her to a list. So you can see she's already part of the Infor CRM public demo nurture campaign. Now, if I had other ones, I've only got the one in my demo system, I can either remove her from it by checking the box and removing, or add to another nurture if I had them listed. You could have your contacts on several different nurture campaigns at once. Obviously, you got to be concerned about over communicating or spamming, but that's the mechanism for how to do that, either by adding her to a group that's already syncing or firing up the dashboard and away you go. Okay, so that's really what I was hoping to show today. I know it was, again, just sort of a tour of the pieces and parts of the nurture campaign that are directly impacted by the integration and how salespeople can add people to a nurture campaign right from Infor CRM. So I wonder if we have any questions today.
Scott, right now we do not have any questions.